Well, folks, it seems like those amicable Canucks are locked in a trade tiff with their southern neighbours. Shocking, I know, right? You'd think sharing the world's longest undefended border would foster a bit more trade harmony. But nope, in the spring of 2023, the trade spat between Canada and the good old US of A heated up like a forgotten Tim Hortons coffee in a minivan cup holder. The source of the tension? Oh, just your usual cocktail of tariffs, trade agreements, and enough political posturing to make a hockey coach blush. Seems the Trump administration, in its infinite wisdom, decided to slap tariffs on Canadian goods. And Canadians, known for their politeness, decided to respond with, wait for it, tariffs of their own. This wasn't some petty squabble over maple syrup purity levels, though. We're talking billions of dollars in trade, industries on edge, and enough political drama to make a season of House of Cards look like an episode of Kailu. So, buckle up, eh? Let's break down this trade war, shall we? Now, in a move that surprised absolutely no one familiar with his negotiating style, then President Trump decided to add a little art of the deal flair to the proceedings. In March of 2023, he announced a temporary pause on some, and I stress of those, hefty tariffs on Canadian goods. Think of it as a trade ceasefire, but with more bluster and less actual peace. This tariff timeout came with a catch, naturally. To avoid the dreaded import taxes, Canadian businesses had to prove their exports were playing by the rules of the new Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA as it's known in diplomatic circles. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. Turns out navigating the labyrinthine rules of origin in CUSMA wasn't exactly a walk in the park. Some Canadian businesses, faced with mountains of paperwork and tight deadlines, opted to just pay the existing tariffs. It was cheaper and less headache-inducing than deciphering the fine print of a trade agreement. Now, you might think Canadians, with their reputation for being, well, would just roll over and accept these trade shenanigans, but you'd be wrong. Remember those retaliatory tariffs I mentioned? Yeah, those were still very much a thing. Canada wasn't about to back down without a fight. A polite, measured fight, but a fight nonetheless. The Trudeau government held firm, keeping tariffs in place on billions of dollars worth of US goods. It was a classic you hit us, we hit back strategy, only with less actual hitting and more strongly worded diplomatic memos. The message was clear. Canada wasn't going to be bullied on trade. They were willing to negotiate, sure, but they weren't about to let the US push them around. It was a gutsy move, standing up to the biggest kid on the economic bloc. But hey, even Canadians have their limits. This trade spat wasn't just a federal issue, though. It trickled down to the provinces, with leaders like Ontario's Doug Ford and BC's David Eby throwing their hats and potential economic penalties into the ring. Ford, never one to miss an opportunity for a good old-fashioned political tussle, threatened to slap a levy on electricity exports to the US. Eby, meanwhile, considered hitting US commercial trucks passing through BC with extra fees. And let's not forget the elephant, or perhaps more accurately, the moose in the room, those pesky steel and aluminum tariffs. Despite the temporary pause on some goods, the Trump administration seemed hell-bent on slapping hefty import taxes on these Canadian staples. It was a move that had many in Canada, a leading exporter of both metals, scratching their heads and wondering what exactly they'd done to deserve such treatment.